So this is actually the privacy part. I'm going to move on to the other points in the outline, mainly access and accessibility. But before we do that, I wanted to ask if there are any questions about privacy or what I explained so far. Anything that's unclear? Okay, great. Then I'm gonna continue with the access part, right? So this was the second point in the outline. So speaking of all this digital education technology, so unfortunately, digital education might not always be inclusive because not all students are the same and they're not all equal. They come from different backgrounds, they have different living conditions, and they have different living conditions, different medical situations. So they're all different. So this is something we need to pay attention within the social dimension. And we're going to do that by addressing both access and accessibility. So what is access? So access actually focuses on the ability to use or obtain something, but I'm talking about a very high level. So it's about whether you have access to something, whether you can get something, whether you can use something. And within the context of digital education, it's about ensuring that there are no barriers preventing someone from using DETs. Yeah. And more specifically, access actually refers to the availability of digital devices, right? If you have access to computers, tablets, smartphone, do you have a reliable internet connection or not? For instance, people living in more rural areas or more underserved areas, underprivileged areas, people who cannot afford these devices like tablets and computers, or people who whose internet service might not be great, so they might not have the same access opportunities, and this might be a barrier to digital education. And that's why, from a digital education perspective, sometimes students can face obstacles, can face barriers due to their socioeconomic status. So that's what we mean by access. So for me, typically access is associated with socioeconomical status, because it's really then about being able to access or being able to get the digital education technologies. Okay, so that's for the access, and we also have accessibility, and accessibility actually builds on access, so it takes it a bit further, and it means it aims to make things easier to reach, to understand, and to use for everyone, regardless of their gender, age, cultural background, or regardless of their health conditions, particularly those students with disabilities and with other challenges. So this is what access is. Like, they're somehow related, access and accessibility, but they're also different because, yeah, the one is really about, I would say, more about socioeconomic status, and then this one is more about their really background, like, yeah, their gender, their age, their disability or not. But to give you some examples, for example, a colorblind student using an online learning platform, or online learning management system, may struggle with color-coded charts, which might lead to confusion and difficulty in understanding, right? So this would be a barrier for a colorblind student to access digital education technologies. Or if we talk about an example from age, elderly people might not be as familiar with current technologies, so they might need a more like straightforward, more user-friendly instructions or more user-friendly interface as well when it comes to digital education technologies. And this is also something that needs to be taken into account if we want to make the digital education more accessible. And lastly, to give an example also about gender, unfortunately, in some cultures, there may be some strong gender norms or gender biases, and that might also discourage, for instance, girls from getting a proper education or pursuing education, which might also affect their digital skills, and which might make these digital education technologies also difficult to navigate. So similar to the example I gave with the age. So all these points are essential to keep in mind when you want to create or when you want to select a digital education technology that is accessible for everyone, regardless of their background.